New developments in the Jussie Smollett saga. A Chicago judge ordering the disgraced actor's criminal case file unsealed. This comes nearly 2 months after the Cook County prosecutors suddenly dropped 16 felony counts against the Empire actor for allegedly staging a hate crime against himself. The judge saying that since Smollett has spoken to the media about his case, he has waived his right to privacy, and here's an example.
I've been truthful and consistent on every single level since day one. I would not be my mother's son if I was capable of one drop of what I have been accused of.
Oh, don't you hate when these sanctimonious narcissists invoke their love for their moms? In any case, Chicago cops say they plan to release Smollett's files next week. So, Katie, this is the week of the revelation. This is the week of the unsealing of the files. This is the week. So what do you expect will happen in the city of Chicago where the prosecutor dropped this case so suddenly after getting a call from the former chief of staff of Michelle Obama, the most famous of Chicago residents?
Well, in terms of legal consequences, there won't be any for Jussie Smollett, but there may be some accountability for...
I'm not sure of that.
Well, okay, I'll let you take that. But since the charges have been dropped, I don't know what else they can now charge him with, considering he filed a false police report and blah, blah, blah. We'll find out all the details.
Perjury.
But the point is, the reason they're releasing this is because he is talking about it publicly, and the public has a right to know. There are public resources used to investigate this case. He's talking about it clearly on national television. His attorneys have gone on national television and smeared the brothers that he hired and accused them of doing things like dressing up in whiteface. And that's why Jussie was confused about who attacked him. And so, this is something that he's been privileged with since the beginning, and he was privileged to have the case sealed. And I'm glad the judge is doing the right thing by holding him accountable for his actions. And if he really wanted this to go away, he should have kept his mouth shut.
Greg, I think that when you consider the fact that Empire, the show, is being canceled after the 6th season, and there's no doubt in my mind but that this scandal helped accelerate that cancellation process, and yet the actors in Empire stick by this guy.
Some of them do. It's a real tragedy because I never had the chance to watch the show. Maybe it'll end up somewhere else. I have to hand it to him. Quite a disappearing act. TMZ can't even find this guy. I have a theory. He's actually hanging out in MAGA country.
Yeah.
Two lessons from the Smollett thing. Number one, he showed, like Avenatti did, how easy it is to punk the media. All you got to do is tick all the boxes. Number one, hate Trump, right? He did that. Embrace identity politics and have an envious victim status, which he did. He created the story, and the bow was the red Trump hat. The second lesson, if a story is pushed by the media that makes you angry, doubt it. Like every story in the last year that has pissed you off, made you upset, is never what it is. If you look again, I'm going to Kavanaugh, Covington, Avenatti's crap, Smollett, these were angry, divisive stories pushed by the media, and then they fell apart. They cheated you of your time and your energy.
And there's no follow-up to that.
There's no follow-up.
There's no follow-up to say we really, really screwed up and we're sorry for it. In fact, there's a justification for things like Michael Avenatti.
And yet, Kennedy, you have a situation here where there was an intervention. I mean, there was a political intervention. There's a special prosecutor now, investigating the what's her name, Fox, the prosecutor, Cook County prosecutor, dropping the case so suddenly. There are real-life implications, and yet he still commands, some loyalty. I just don't get it. I don't see why. I mean, to invoke a hate crime in Chicago, the city of Emmett Till, that's where the kid came from who was so infamously lynched after flirting with a white girl on a trip down south. These are real. This is a big, to me, this guy is deserving of no sympathy, and he should have really gotten the big.
And that's why the chief of police was so personally offended by some of Jussie Smollett's actions. And he said that they were very obvious and very provable. And, the worry in this country is there are two forms of justice. Sometimes it's based on race, and sometimes it's based on privilege and whether or not you have money. And Jussie Smollett not only had money and prestige, but he also had political access. And that's very unfair. And then Kim Fox tried to cover her tracks by putting out that memo saying, okay, is there any time where we've dropped charges in a case kind of similar to this so we don't look like total idiots? At the same time, she was supposed to have recused herself. And if you remember, her spokesperson said, well, she only colloquially recused herself. She didn't formally recuse herself. As if
colloquial recusal. I didn't learn that at Brooklyn.
That's my band name.
And also, I've always thought it was strange that the judge sealed the whole thing.
Well, it's coming unsealed now.
So
by
finally,
June 3rd, it will be unsealed. But Jesse, listen to this. During the time the 24 detectives were investigating, according to our brain room, there were 18 murders in Chicago. There were 104 criminal sexual assaults, 370 robberies, 423 aggravated batteries, 535 burglaries, 3,401 thefts. I mean, these are all things they could have been probing instead of wasting their time chasing, a fraudulent story.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that he has blood on his hands as
you could argue
a result of him tying up the police department. You could argue after 2 years of this country chasing around a fake story about Russia, what else could we have done then? It's such a wasted opportunity. But I tend to look at the bright side here. This man has united this country. He has brought together Fox News, Rahm Emanuel, Donald Trump, and Charles Barkley.
Wow.
All of them say this guy's a fraud, and I think that's a good thing. Because if you look at what he and me, and if you look at what he wanted, he didn't get anything. He wanted a raise, didn't get it. He wanted the show to keep going. He didn't get it. He wanted the attention from the black community. Black community dropped him like a rock. This guy is toast. He should have kept that sweetheart deal and shut his mouth, but he had bad management, and he's a delusional con artist.
You know what?
Just like the Russia hoax artists.
Yeah, good, nice little follow-up there with the Russia thing.
Maybe he's Russian.
No, but you know what? He could redeem himself if he actually opened himself to those he despised. If he said, okay, this was a lot. I'm going to go into MAGA country, and I'm going to face the people I ridiculed.
How silly.
No, if you're looking for I'm talking about
he's going to go to Queens and
redemption.
He needs to go on the GG show.
Yes.
Do a full hour.
Exactly.
He's got to do what Aaron Rodgers did. Get in a beer chugging contest.